so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads. Welcome to a very special episode dedicated to none other than you, the P-heads themselves. I am your P-head enthusiast and hostess for the day, Alexa Hauser. I have been blessed to have the experience of helping out with Positive Head social media for the better part of a year. And through my digital interactions, I began to realize, as did Brandon, that we have some incredible beings listening to this show who are taking the information that Brandon puts out through the podcast and using it to transform their lives and create wonderful things. You listeners are all a huge, huge part of the life force that propels this show forward through time and space, and we think it's time to bring forth some of you beautiful reflections and delve a little deeper into this collection of energy that is the Positive Head community. So as we shine the spotlight on our listeners, what we'll have them do is share their stories of how they attracted Positive Head into their life, the transformation it's facilitated for them, and what they're focused on creating now that they're in a more positive headspace. Also, this episode of the Positive Head podcast is being brought to you thanks to the support of Gaia. If you're not familiar, Gaia is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content online. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. Hello, all you positive heads. On this week's P-Head Posse episode, our guest is Positive Head listener Terisa Brenna. Terisa is a brand designer based in the growing musical and creative community of Nashville, Tennessee. She's the owner of the lifestyle apparel brand called Starseed that exists to inspire and empower the spiritual journey through inspirational content and unique apparel that speaks to the soul. Hi, Terisa. Welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, Alexa, I'm so happy to be here. It's such a joy and an honor.
I'm so happy that you're here too. We were talking a bit offline and, I was looking through what you're doing now, and it's just kind of so synchronistic and so resonant with my own stories. I'm so excited to hear all about your journey and what you're doing. But before we get into that, why don't we start at the beginning, and why don't you share a little bit about just what your own journey's been like, up until this point, how you've kind of arrived here?
Wow, that is a whole podcast in and of itself. Right?
I'm sure.
Well, the long and short of it is I basically stepped into who I really am and realized more about how I'm a multidimensional being and how I needed to align with my truths. And that involved several years ago, a divorce, and then leaving a job that was not serving me very well. I was actually very unhappy after a while. And that I actually mentioned in a different podcast. If you guys ever want to catch up with that, I mentioned it on my blog. But, all that whole ride during like 2016, 17, and a little bit into 18 helped land me where I'm at right now. And what launched me into starting Starseed gave me the inspiration for that. And Starseed is, as you mentioned, an apparel brand that I created just out of the pure love of wanting to put more spiritual gangster kind of swag out there, and wearing something that is so close to your heart, and your heart chakra is kind of special to me always. And graphic tees, I was very, very particular with. So I was just like, the world needs a little bit more positive vibes out there, as opposed to, and not like there's anything wrong with it, but there was just a lot of snarky shirts going on at the time, like nope, and eye roll. So I just kind of saw a need for that. And then further into, I guess you could say, my awakening, I realized there was more to this, and that I was actually a star seed. And if you guys are ever curious about what a star seed is, I'm sure half of you guys already are familiar with what that is. But I also talk about that in the other podcast. So I don't want to like bore everyone, but
no, we like hearing about it.
I know. Soul talks are my absolute fave. But yeah, a starseed is a type of light worker, like a class of light worker. And of course, all this is relative truths. And if it doesn't resonate with you, you don't have to believe it in any sense. But that was what was resonating with me. And I realized there's more to this. There's mission work behind this for me. And I realized more than anything, I just really wanted to put out positive, inspiring messages and spiritual wisdom out there. And whether it's on a t-shirt or a quote, blog posts, videos that I do, it was all tying together, you know? So that's kind of what led me up to where I'm at today. But in order to, you know, start a business, you're kind of in that wilderness phase for a few years, trying to get it up off the ground. And as a result, I'm working 3 jobs and just kind of staying on the grind.
Awesome. That's amazing. And I'm just curious. So were you very into clothing before you had this idea? Or was this something that you were more so thinking of as like, what's a way that I can get out like these positive messages and get it in front of like people's faces? I know you said like you wanted to kind of counteract the like snarky messages that were going out there, but were you into clothing? Because I asked this because like I mentioned, I had a clothing business, and it was funny because like it was almost funny to people because I wasn't like the most stylish person or like very into clothes or fashion really. And then I started a clothing business. So I was just curious.
To be honest, I really wasn't. I never had a dream per se, or even a seed planted to do apparel design. But once I got into it, I just realized how much I love to play with this stuff. And I know that we all have our own personal styles for sure. And after a while of being into it and planning photo shoots and styling and doing wardrobe and all that stuff, I realized, okay, I maybe have a thing here. I maybe am good at this. And I just really absolutely love to play with textures. And I think this is just the graphic designer part of me and brand designer. I want it, if I'm going to put any time, energy into something, I want it to be truly unique and something that isn't out there already. So therefore I have glow in the dark t-shirts that are on, you know, speckled, woven fabrics. I have holographic foil stuff, of course, all with the rainbows.
Yes.
if you know anything about me,
everything.
Yes, I'm so obsessed. And coming out this spring and summer, when I come out with this upcoming line, there'll be more of that and more layering. What other sorts of things? So I just kind of got wrapped up in the opportunity it presents, and I already have so many ideas I want to execute upon. So everyone, please be on the lookout for those to drop soon.
Awesome.
But to go back to your question, I think when I first started, you know, that there is drop shipping options, and there is the very low risk sublimation type of techniques, and that's what kind of reeled me into it to begin with, was that anyone could jump into it. You know, you upload your design to a website and they can produce it to you or produce it for you. So it seemed really easy, and I way underestimated how much work I would be putting into it. But it's been a joy and a huge love and passion for me all along, learning and overcoming these challenges. So yeah, I started thinking it was going to be super easy, just a side hustle thing. And then it quickly grew and overwhelmed me. And we're just kind of, you know, I wrapped more of my energy into it and decided to do more inspirational content and, to inspire more than just produce apparel.
Yeah. Well, especially because if you're coming at it with that mentality, I think it's so much easier to go through all the things you go through as an entrepreneur. I mean, because I totally know exactly what you're talking about with, it is a lot of work. Like a clothing business in particular is a lot of work because there's so many elements of it. And even when you have people handling one part of the operation for you, like you're saying, someone else is producing it, you still are the one I'm sure, are you the one shipping it out or are they drop shipping it?
Yeah, I try to wrap my arms around everything, and not out of control freak reasons, but I just found that I wanted to have more inventory on hand for in-person sales or things like that. To be more opportunistic than to create one more barrier. I've been in marketing for 15 years, so I kind of still have a marketing kind of mindset, and that's why I tried to keep everything in-house. And it's a pure joy to ship this stuff. It's like, yes, a sale, I closed it. And I just hope that's, becomes more frequent, and, just counting the blessings and grateful for every order as they come.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Trying to be patient with the process.
Yeah. Well, what I was saying was, I think it's great to think of it, like you said, as just, how did you say it? You're like, I don't want to think it as just producing clothing, but producing, inspiration. Is that what you said?
Also, inspire. And part of that goes back to my mission work and what I feel is my sole purpose. And I want to cultivate a community around the brand, the Starseed Tribe, growing the tribe, and just to show that we are journeying together. Like, hey, this is a great cool T-shirt if it resonates with you. Also, I've been through what you've been through, and it's like we heal each other, and I appreciate you being able to use this as a platform to also just kind of be honest and open about my journey and be able to put out there the wisdom that I channel. I feel like I channel these things. I'm just going to say that. Yeah. Because it comes to me and I'm like, okay, I need to get this out in a post. I don't know where else it comes from, but I was just like, I need to do something with this. So it's all part of the joy too in developing this brand. And I'm constantly trying to keep an ear to the ground and a pulse with the community, and what are they liking, what are they not liking, not literally liking, but how can I best serve them in this moment and week by week. So creates a little extra work, but I think it's important to be relevant and timely. Absolutely. And I think you hit on something so true, which is like, we're all channeling to some degree. You know what I mean? We all are getting our own ideas that feel really, really like important to share. And everybody is kind of sharing that through different mediums. It's about like what medium feels right for you to share it. And so like for you, it's this clothing and it's wearable art, right? It's like wearable messages. I always get this like idea about clothing where it's kind of like, if you think about it energetically, it's like you could infuse a design with energy, with an intention, with, oh my gosh, and then you print that, and anyone walking down the street wearing that, it's like the way that some people just walk up. Like I used to have this shirt. The people just all the time came up to me and were like, I love that shirt. I love that. And it was so it wasn't like anything was that crazy about it, but they just loved, there was something about the energy of the shirt. People always came up and said it to me. And, what was it? What did it say on it? It was actually well, this is actually like,
Wow. Now that you're calling me out on this, I'm kind of like, well, this is kind of
Can't be that bad. It was on a shirt.
No, I know, but I got it when I was in LA, and it was like this vintage shirt, and it was it was two guns. Oh my God. I feel like I'm going against everything I just said. It was two guns, okay? But they were old school guns. I know. And but the way that it was printed, I loved something. I don't like guns, but there was something about the way that it was printed that I loved, and I found it in this Melrose like vintage store when I lived in LA. And I just use that as an example because it's the first thing that came to my mind. But what I'm saying is, it's like, no matter what the thing is, there's whoever creates it is infusing that with their energy. And sometimes you can't sometimes it's ineffable, like why you're attracted to something. And just even, for example, like that, it's like, it's like there's something about the energy that goes into it. So maybe the person who created that was like really just like loving what they were doing and really tuned in and just really being inspired from everything around them or pop culture or whatever. And so I think it's a really weird example, but especially for what we're talking about here. But, I remember we had on this guest on this podcast one time. He might've been on a couple times. Richard, God, what is his last name? Gordon, Dr. Richard Gordon. And he's done all these experiments about quantum healing. And he did this experiment where he realized that basically like he infused this one image he had someone take a picture of him running this healing energy. They just took one picture of the energy, and the energy had an intention of aligning someone's back, which was misaligned.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And so then they took this image and they would just show it to someone and their back would realign, just the image. So then he started doing all these different iterations of the image where he would like scale the image down. So it was only like, it was way smaller than your thumbnail, and he'd show it to someone. Same thing would happen. He would take all the coloring out of it, show it to someone. Same thing would happen. He would like rip up the paper and destroy the image technically and just like place that in front of someone, and it would still happen. It would still work. So through that, I just remember when I heard that, I got this idea. I was like, wait, so that means that you could infuse an image with an intention to like realign someone's back or just to infuse someone with this amazing healing energy and put that on a shirt and then walk around on the street and people be looking at this image. Like you make the image really cool. Like you make the image something people want to look at, and then they are literally infused with that energy, and whatever intention you set in there, it does that to them. So I feel like what you're doing is you're like heading in that direction. Like you're really intentional about like you're saying you want to really cultivate like inspiration. You really want to like live in that place. And I think that is what you're on the path of like creating, like from my perspective. And I think that's so awesome. And we need so much more of it, like you said, like there's so many brands that are just kind of, I feel like, especially even, brands that are more affordable that a lot of people buy because they're like, oh, I can afford this, for example, like Target or Forever 21 or something like that. But it's like, what's the intention? Market. Like, what's the intention going into that?
Right. And with mass market, sometimes that energy of, at least, with me as a boutique, the small boutique apparel brand at this point in my growth, that my hands are going to touch it, and all the way to even a handwritten note. I'm a sucker for handwritten notes. I always write a little thank you to everyone. But it's so crazy what you were talking about the intention and fusing apparel with energy. And yes, I am 100% intentional about everything I do. It's almost to a fault because it takes me a little bit longer to get things out the door, and it's just me and plus juggling all the other jobs. So, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's so funny that you mentioned that because you are talking Starseed 3.0. I have had a couple ideas about integrating crystals into apparel, and I've had a couple ideas, and I take lifts quite a lot to commute to my jobs downtown, and just about every day. And there was this, which I love the magic of lift ride conversations. You just never know where it's going to go. And usually end up connecting with them later, or it turns into a freelance opportunity or something. But anyway, we were talking about my apparel brand because I'm a walking, talking spokesperson of my brand, and this guy had the idea of, I hope no one copies me now, but I'm going to put it out there. Yeah. If you do, more blessings to you. But we were talking about if there was this hoodie that had all the chakras kind of lined up, or I don't know, we were talking about how it would have to be a very long hoodie to cover the root chakra and stuff, but it would be well suited for meditation practices or yoga practices, where you would put I think it's, like the symbol for the chakra over that place of where the chakra would be, along with the complementing crystal that would be kind of like embedded in the fabric, or maybe just harnessed in there. Yeah. And we were like really getting into the logistics in this 5-minute ride. We were really getting into logistics of how that would be sewn in there. And
I love that.
Yeah, so I've already been kind of planting seeds of integrating.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I just got so excited. I'm like, what if you, because actually this is really funny because I've had a similar idea, not about clothing, but about art. And I just realized you could use this somehow with the shirt, this same idea. So what if you could, because I've seen people take crystals and you cut the crystal, like you crush the crystal technically. So it makes like little versions of it. And then you could infuse those into like paint or the ink, or so that it's not like this giant crystal just like on there, although like that's awesome. But it could be more like broken up and like spread out, infused into that center.
I've actually seen some art like that. My friend creates resins, and she did that technique, exactly what you're talking about.
That's so cool.
I don't know if you're familiar with resin art. Have you seen some of that?
I love resin art.
Wow. So she had a couple different themes going on. One is very water-based, like oceanic. And I was actually one of her first buyers, her first customers. I was like, I have to have this. It looks like a beach. Wow. But then her other themes involved galaxies. So she, in one of those, I know, right? In one of those resins, she crushed up crystals, and then around that was glitter and all that fun, sparkly jazz. And it looks amazing. So yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. And then to go back to the intention of wanting to infuse, garments with good energy, that actually was the inspiration behind my sacred geometry leggings. I don't know where the idea came, honestly, but that's when it must have came from spirit or something. Yeah. That wasn't fed through me. But what I did was I aligned prior to this, I should say, to preface this, I went on a rabbit hole on sacred geometry on YouTube for hours. And so fascinating. And it was during a period last year when I was posting a lot of content around sacred geometry, which is kind of going back to like this full circle of how Starseed helps me along my journey, because the content I put out gives me opportunities to learn about it. So it's awesome. Okay, so I decided it would be great to put different sacred geometry symbols down the leg on the outside, to kind of align your energies and cleanse them. And I don't know if I had any. I don't really know what I was doing, to be honest, and if it really is effective, but they happen to be our top seller. Wow. There has to be something going on with that. And I was just really fascinated. I remember thinking how sacred geometry symbols have the power to affect your energy. Yeah. So that's just like the base point or baseline of the intention. And
Oh, I love that. I mean,
check them out.
Even just like you knowing that, and you believing in that like truth, it's like that infuses what you're doing so much because you're enhancing the product even more because you know the potential of this. So it's like, and I just feel like I just think it's awesome. There's so much potential here. Like there's so much potential with clothing in particular, because it's like you said, it's like on our bodies, right? And it's stuff, it's on our bodies all the time.
It's a very personal choice.
Yes.
And very intimate, I think, as far as your choice and your selections and what it means to you,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Maybe, I that's so cool. I love it. Well, now that you've mentioned so many awesome products that you have, do you want to give the listeners the link of where they can find your store and all that good stuff?
Sure, absolutely. That is Star Seed. Stars in the sky, seed is in the soil. Starseed.shop. That's where you can find t-shirts, leggings. We have yoga leggings that are high-waisted. Awesome. Let me just put that out there because we all know as a lady,
and it's winter
high-waisted
time.
is the way to go. Yeah. And we also have crop tops. I always say we, by the way, when I talk about Starseed.
Yeah,
it's just me right now, but it's we as a community, I guess. I also have some crop top hoodies that say One Love. That's kind of the new winter release. And then I just recently released stickers, which are special to me because, to go back to what you were talking about with the intentions, what I really enjoy as designer, I've always had a love for typography alone, and using it to illustrate and to conceptualize words, phrases, that kind of thing. And so Brandon actually gave me a compliment because he has come across a couple things that I've put into an illustration, let's just say, and those have turned into stickers. So I actually did this fun thing where I presented a few different options in the past throughout my Instagram feed of posts, such as what I use. One says "let go," but the word "ego" is bolded, and I arranged the letters in a way that where you can draw that connection. That's one example. That made it to the shop. They voted on which ones would make it, and that was the first release. So there's stickers that come from these little art cards, inspirational cards I create on my Instagram page, and there'll probably be another release coming up this spring and summer. One that got Brandon's attention as well was I illustrated the word inspired in a way that just showed spirit too, as a separate, I pulled that out and pulled it forward. And he was like, wow, yeah. And it was totally synchronizing with things he was talking about on the latest episodes, of course. Yeah. So I appreciate that he shared that. And then another thing I recently put out there was a saying that says, or it just shows universe, but it's spelled Y-O-U, of course.
Yes.
Universe. And one that I have recently put out there as well that I love says, so it looks at the word evolve and how love is actually in there, but backwards.
Yeah.
Did you ever notice that?
Yes, I did.
Yes,
I love that.
This is kind of common. So, I mean, I'm not claiming that I'm totally unique and original coming up with these comparisons, but I just like to illustrate them to bring that awareness,
I don't think many people do. I think that's awesome that you're illustrating them, because I know it's we talk about it on the podcast. I know Brandon talks about it all the time. Evolve is love, he'll say it, but there's nothing out there that's showing you actually what's happening, how these words are constructed. So it's pretty cool, to have stickers like that. That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, I hope to produce those. I'm going to put it up to the community to to vote on that as well. I just think that's kind of fun.
Oh, it's so fun to get them involved. That's great.
Yes.
It's like for us, by us.
Yes. That reminds me of FUBU.
Yeah.
The 90s.
For Starseeds by Starseeds.
Yes, I love that. So starseed.shop is my shop, and then my Instagram handle, my page that you can follow if you'd like to get a daily dose of inspiration and see what's coming down the pipeline for new products. That is starseed_tribe.
Awesome. Perfect. And I know you mentioned that you had like a special discount code for listeners. Do you want to share that?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you, by the way. That's so kind of you.
Of course. To spread some love to you guys, I want to offer you 20% off in my shop. And with that code is, let me just double check it, is, was it positive 20? Is that the code I sent you? So
Let's
sorry.
see.
I thought I had
you're
it up.
fine. All good. Yeah. P-head 20.
P-head 20.
All caps.
All caps.
Yeah. P-head 20.
Yeah. And you can get 20% off your whole order. And free. Sometimes I offer free shipping. It depends on the day you land on there. So
that is awesome. Thank you so much. I'm sure our listeners will take you up on that one.
Yay.
Awesome. Well, so I'm going to ask you a question that I ask all the guests we have on here. What is one thing that you think every P-head would benefit to know or learn as they continue on their own journey?
Well, one thing I didn't mention about Starseed and what an underlying vision and mission I have for it is that Starseed exists to advocate for unity, and unity is always kind of like my underlying intention to put out there, to put into the mix. So for me, it would be to be open to the idea of unity and oneness and to believe in it and to embody it. That change in the outer world is first created. We all know this is first created from within. So know that our beliefs that we hold give it power. And, I just see that as the direction that we are all aligning and heading toward. So the more power we give it, the more we can realize this and manifest it.
Oh, I love that. That's been popping up a lot for me as well. Like, just even on another level of just like being together more, like being together with other people, because I feel like we're so isolated, and it's like becoming so, it's becoming so clear to me how like I don't want to be isolated anymore. Like I don't want to live in my like little box anymore. Like I want to be with everyone. Like I want to be with people. I want to like be and I think that's powerful as well, as like the unity is realizing that like we are all each other and we are all so connected. And
yes.
Yeah.
And I think the current that connects us is love. I mean, I believe, to me, unity and oneness and love are synonymous. They're like the same frequency, the same vibration. And I know that in some ways we can feel like, oh, well, how is that ever going to be created? The government's like this and the politics is like this and the financial system, blah, blah, blah. I get that. Thinking of this as a collective, when you look at all the other systems that are really no longer serving us, in my opinion, how we're kind of programmed to think that the change starts there, that we need the system to be created for us. But I flip that around and think it's to be more empowering, to think of a more empowering thought. It starts within, and it starts with each and every single one of us. Like we are all needed. We are all super important. And then, so I get into soulful talks quite a lot. Yeah. One time this analogy came out and I was like, yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. Because, we are so prone to think it starts top level down.
Yeah.
So to put an analogy like this, think of unity and oneness as a tree, like that new earth that we can ascend to. Radical shifts such as this, I believe it has to start with us individually on a soul level, and as the seeds that plant the tree at ground level. So then that then sprouts the roots, the most vital aspect for the trees growth to grow upward. And we are those roots. We are the roots. A tree relies on this elaborate network deep beneath to stimulate its growth and provide strength to stand tall. So from there, it will continue to manifest, form, and expansion with these strong roots that support it deep down, and then from there, new branches just extend outward and then spawn new branches and sprouting buds, maybe blossom into flowers. And then finally you have this beautiful tree I just picture it like fully bloomed and beautiful and luminescent almost. And
and sturdy.
That's how I see and sturdy.
Yeah.
From those strong roots, that network that comes together and supports the tree.
I love that. I think that's an amazingly powerful analogy. I think, I think you bring up a really good point, because a lot of people look at, it's going back to looking at what is and looking at the powers that be or were, however you want to look at it, and be like, oh, I can't do anything. Like, I'm just one little human. And it's like, you can, I love that. Like, I love putting that idea out there. Like, but you can plant the seeds that will grow into the next power, like into the next thing. Like, you can do that right now. And it's like, we've become so kind of instantaneous. Like, we just want to be satisfied now. And if we are not satisfied now, then sometimes I think a lot of people can be like, oh, what's the point? It's going to take too long, or I don't even know if it's going to pay off. And it's like, that's why it's so important to have the vision and have the belief and know that like what you do right now is so important. It is so important for the future. And that's why I think I've been mentioning this girl a million times in all of my recordings lately, but that 16-year-old Swedish activist, Greta, whatever her name is, I don't know if you've seen her, but
I don't think I have.
She's like talking about how, she's just bringing the vision so vividly into like, when it's this year, I'm going to be this old and my kids are going to sit there and ask me why I didn't do anything, like why I didn't, why I didn't stop you, like talking to the she's been speaking at all these environmental, like huge conferences, and it's like why I didn't do anything to change what's happening. And it's like, I love that idea is coming into our reality right now, because it really does have to become very vivid for us to understand like what we do right now has a huge effect on the future. And that goes for every single person, how you choose to act in this world. And so I love that analogy. I think that's beautiful. What seeds are you planting? Because you're planting a seed, whether you know it or not. What kind of seed are you planting?
Yeah, we're all much more immensely powerful than we are fully capable of being aware of at any given moment.
Absolutely.
And, to be fair, this is pretty unprecedented. I get that. This kind of shift is very radical, and there isn't really a roadmap provided out there in more mainstream ways. But that's kind of like the magic of how you discover it yourself. Because as Eckhart Tolle said, words don't teach, experiences teach. Mm-hmm. And if you're making change within, you got to do the work. We all know how fun that is.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But once you reach that state, or even if you're just having the intention of moving towards wholeness and oneness within yourself, you can then embody that. Like, change is never created externally. If it affects you directly, like, it has to start internally first, and then the universe echoes that. It's.
I'm sorry. Absolutely. Like, I was just getting this image that someone told me this, reminded me of this analogy yesterday, which I really loved. Actually, it might have been one of our other guests on here, but she was talking about how when you look in the mirror, if you want your reflection to change, you don't go up to the mirror and try to change the reflection. You don't like try to pull, brush the reflection's hair or like, put on makeup on the mirror. Like you have to do it to yourself. And then when you go to look in the mirror again, you will see it differently. But so many of us are kind of trying to like go up to the mirror and be like, change, like why won't you change, like do it externally versus starting with ourselves. And so that I just wanted to echo that. But also, I forgot the other point, so I guess I'm not supposed to share it. Cool. Don't
you hate when that happens? Yeah. Or when the timing's right, maybe.
Yeah, when maybe it just was the right time. But well, that is awesome. Also so insightful. And just to start wrapping up here, we love stories on this podcast, as you know, if you listen. So do you have any fun or inspiring stories of synchronicity or manifestation, or any stories that just like really wow you, that you love, that you'd love to share?
Wow. I actually do have one that involved how Brandon and I got connected. Outside of me just listening to the podcasts. So it's fairly long, though. Is it okay if I share?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Also, it involves me writing in a review to him. And so I'll read that whole thing. But
cool.
I do apologize. It is fairly long, so bear with me.
Oh, it's okay.
I also recapped this on my blog in the best of 2018. It came in at number 6, the most magical synchronicity party.
Nice. Number 6.
Yeah. Just love how the universe works in its magical, mysterious ways. Okay. So I'm trying to recap to back then. At that time, it was like late fall, I was going through some depression, some heavy times due to a setback. So I was really trying to like reach for the light at the time that this all went down. So I had tuned into the latest episode, and it related a lot to what I was going through at the time. It even involved the quotes that Brandon mentioned and the music he had referenced, all kind of like hit home and crossed paths with what was going on in my own world. So I didn't hesitate to write it in a review because you know how much he loves synchronicities and then the reviews. So here's how that went. It also, he read this in an episode. I'll get to that in a second. But so as I was tuning in to today's episode, The Path is the Goal, I was hit with multiple synchronicities. First, I've been going through a lot of the pain and depression after dealing with an epic setback that was out of my control. You said, "Here comes the rain." And wouldn't you know it, it's been rainy all week here in Nashville. And sidebar, so the setback that I experienced had also to do with the rain.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like this major festival I was planning, and then it got rained out, and I was like, oh my God, broke me. For reals. Okay. The sky mimicking my mood. Second, your Jim Carrey quote about depression spoke to me and also aligned with a video that I was called to do on my Instagram page yesterday. I talked about how we get cues from our body that let us know when where we're at in alignment with our true self/higher self. Thirdly, I also read that same touch quote yesterday in my inbox. Fourth in line, as I was shuffling about getting ready this morning, I had heard my inner voice say to me, "It's about the journey. You're not heading anywhere. This is not linear. So just enjoy it as it comes." Which is basically the theme of this episode I just listened to. And now, to conclude this powerful synchronistic train, the Modest Mouse song, "Float On," popped in my head yesterday as I was searching for solace. You beautifully ended your episode saying, "We're floating along like musical notes." So thank you from the bottom of my heart for speaking to my soul and helping me to dance in the rain. I really needed to hear, well, that was like quote unquote dance in the rain, because he also mentions, you know, the effect of dancing in the rain and not being so tied to outcomes and how it's really just about the journey. So dance in the rain. I really needed to hear that perspective that it doesn't always matter what the outcome is. Success is not measured in this case by tangible things. The success for me personally was that I went all in, gave it my all, overcame so many challenges, and stepped into my power. I was meant to go through this experience and will, as you say, have people high-fiving me at the end of my journey for going through this wild, crazy, beautiful ride. So I wrote that into him, and then within a couple days, he reached out to me on Instagram. He's like, you won't believe it. He shot me over a screenshot, and looks like he had said, don't worry, we all float on, the Modest Mouse song.
Yeah.
It was a screenshot of his friend at the Modest Mouse concert, or maybe it was Brandon, I can't really tell. And he's like, so I just woke up to your review, and here's the last thing on Instagram I sent before going to bed last night.
Wow.
The float on, and I'm like, how random. That's so crazy. So that kind of blew my mind. And then he read my review within a few days on the next recording, which he called Float On with Synchronicity Ripples. And that was the segment that he read my interview, or read my review. And no, it doesn't even stop there.
Oh,
so
okay,
I'm like halfway through. I know, I told you it's kind of long. So then my sweet friend, overheard my review and recognized my name, even though I think Brandon had called me Teresa. I get that so commonly, but she's like, yeah, hey girl, just heard your review. Through reconnecting, we decided it was time to bring our friends together for a nice, cozy bonfire hang. And, they're all very spiritual and woke, if you will say. And we just felt like it was time to do that. And again, going through what I was going through at the time, I was like, I kind of needed that light to come back into my life. So we did that. And then we ended up calling it a synchronicity party. And then, everyone had these great, great experiences. We even had a lot of soulful talks around the campfire, which was kind of interesting. And I'll throw in another quick sidebar because I loved that people were sharing this. I just love to hear where people are at in their journey. I think it's awesome that we get to have so uniquely different journeys. Like no one's ever going to be in the same exact world or have the same exact experience. Even identical twins, or even if you go through the same events in life, you're going to perceive it differently. And hopefully in ways that align with, the way you need it to align for your growth. But the overall consensus was that people felt that they were feeling a lot of people had awakened at this point, like majority of people around them in their lives. And I remember like years ago, and this is why I tuned into Positive Head and why I really appreciated it, how it served me along my journey, was having that sense of community, because this stuff is far out to talk about. I mean, sometimes you don't even know if it's real, and to hear stories being validated and just introducing more and more different perspectives that then turn into, I have to look that up, or I have to look into this, and whether or not you integrate it as your truth, that's up to you. But it was just interesting to me to hear that people overall felt like majority of the collective was woke, and I was like, nice. But anyway, okay, so then my friend had wrote in a review to Brandon as well following the party, because she just had to. And I thought that would close the ripple, but or the loop. But I think he then read her review, and I, of course, caught wind of it and then reached back out to her. I'm like, this is never gonna stop. It's just gonna keep going out there like the ripples, cast out in the ocean.
Yeah.
So it was just really beautiful how during a time of so much, darkness, I was able to transmute this dark or the series of events and the synchronicities, how it not only touched my life, but also positively affected lives of others, and shot over to Brandon, and like we're all immersed in this. And I truly think it happened for a reason, you know, how for me personally, I was able to transmute a dark, depressing period into some beautiful sparks of light. And yeah, that was the most wild, synchronistic train of my life.
I love that.
Again, it hasn't stopped. I recently reached back out to Brandon and be like, here's this universe graphic I did. I heard you mention, you know, that again. And how he did the game of the universe, the YOU universe. I was like, yep. I already had this queued up. We are on the same wavelength.
Oh, I love that.
I love it.
I love that. Yeah, it's really crazy how like it seems like we all kind of like once we all kind of plug in fully to Positive Head just as a vehicle, you know, it just keeps kind of delivering over and over and over again, because it shows you how like when you accept it as truth, and I think Brandon was just talking about this the other day, when you accept it as truth, that's when you just start seeing it. You allow it to be revealed to you because you accept that we're all connected. You accept that these things happen, and then it just becomes ridiculous. Like it becomes a joke. Like, you know, like it becomes, it's so everything matches so much that it's like, what? But you just kind of start accepting it more and more and more. And I think that's, I remember that review actually and that episode. So that's awesome. And Modest Mouse, like used to be one of my favorite bands. I studied abroad in Amsterdam and went to see them live in Amsterdam. And it was a beautiful concert. And it's awesome.
Totally good times. I saw them too a while ago in Minneapolis. That's where I'm from. So.
Oh, awesome. That's cool. Well, thank you for that story. That is totally crazy and wild. And I love it. And this has been awesome connecting with you, Terisa. Like truly amazing. I love your energy. I feel so much resonance with you somehow. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and your wisdom and your Starseed brand. I hope everybody goes and checks it out and gets some gear and rocks it and send some pictures.
Yeah.
Because we need more companies and products out there like that in the world. So thank you for all that you do, Terisa.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. This has truly been an honor. You guys have, the podcast has served me in so many ways over the past few years, and to be asked to be interviewed, I was like, oh my gosh, of course. But in the back of my mind, I was like, for a while I've been thinking about it, you know, but hesitating because it's like, what can I offer the P-Head community? You know,
I love how we all have so much going on. We're like, but what can I offer? It's
I know.
So much.
That's so I'm hoping there's something here that resonates with someone in terms of the message, and just so grateful for you guys, and hope you enjoy the t-shirts and stickers I sent you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to get them. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I'll be sending you a picture for social media if you want it.
I love it.
Awesome, Terisa. Well, I hope you have a beautiful day.
Thank you. You as well.
Awesome.
That's it for this week's episode. If you're a listener with a story to share and are interested in being featured on a future episode of this special series, you can email me at alexa@positivehead.com. Also, if you're craving more consciousness elevating content, be sure to check out Gaia, which is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content on the web, where you can stream an incredible 7,000 plus exclusive videos covering 5,000 years of wisdom. As you all hear Brandon constantly say, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration. And if you're looking to journey deep down the rabbit hole to do so, then Gaia is the best place we know of to do it. Period. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. Otherwise, tune in next Friday for another P-Head Posse episode. And until then, as Brandon always says, journey well.